What is up, NFL fans? Betting with the Barbers, powered by Superbook Sports, is back in your life. Ron Kruk, along with former New York Giant Tiki Barber and former Buck Rondé Barber. Guys, it's the season of Christmas miracles. How about them Lions?
That's where we're going.
I love this. I love this. I texted Dan Campbell. I was getting ready to do the Seahawks 49ers game, and I saw that they won. And I texted Dan Campbell. He was like, "That felt blanking awesome." It's just like Dan Campbell. Exactly what he told Jared Goff after he threw that touchdown pass. This is what you do to win games. Bleep, bleep.
Well, you know what you do to win games? You get a Minnesota defense that plays ridiculous defense. Inside the end zone on the last play of the game, like 101 end of game play to defend the goal line.
What? Right.
Maybe
you're going to get beat over the top.
You're going to get beat at the back line. Exactly.
Right.
So what's crazy is the Lions are not the first team eliminated and still have a shot, fellas, at making the playoffs. I mean, in the immortal words of Lloyd Christmas in Dumb and Dumber, so you're saying there's a chance?
There is no chance. Like what is it? There's got to be like 12 teams that lose out.
Maybe this was the turnaround they needed, you know? But guess who doesn't have a shot? The Houston Texans.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
The first team to be eliminated, but 31 other teams still have that chance.
Yeah, I felt bad for David Kelly all season long. He just felt like this was not going to work its way out nicely, despite how great of a guy he is. It was destined for ineptitude, especially as soon as Tyrod Taylor got hurt.
Yeah. Ineptitude, dysfunction. There's a lot of things to describe that organization right now. And David Culley is not any of those.
Nope.
But just everything around him, dude. No chance.
Yeah. Tough situation. But I mean, the NFL loves parity, and we got it. There's no doubt about it. Well, looking back at week 13, guys, favorites were on top again. 8 favorites covered against the spread. Underdogs, 5 covered against the spread. And quick, full disclosure, I mean, you two were right. Why in the world would I bet against New England and Bill Belichick? I mean, they had to throw 3 passes. That's it. And once again, he found a way to shut down Buffalo's offense. And you were right. I was wrong.
Yes.
Hey, Ron, did you hear what he said after the game in the locker room when the conditions were bad? Because Bill Belichick is notorious for making his guys practice outside in the conditions.
Right.
Everybody else wants to be in the bubble and nice and cozy. He said, "This is why we practice in this." And he's right.
Yeah. Incredible. But hey, I will give myself some credit. I did pick the Steelers. I don't know how they won that game, but they somehow.
My buddy said it the other day. There's 2 coaches you don't bet against: Belichick and Nick Saban.
That's right.
Mental note, writing that down right now. As we get ready for week number 14. Wow. Bye week for those Patriots who earned it by winning their 7th straight. Also for the Colts, Dolphins, and Eagles. And, you know, before we get to our pick, kind of strange, guys, isn't it, to have a bye week in week 14, especially I know you two play fantasy football. This is like the last regular season game in fantasy football for many leagues, but it's strange. 4 teams have the week off.
Yeah, it does. But it's good for those 4 teams because you're getting a respite at the end after all this attrition and you're beat up and you're tired, and you get to rest for a week and then come back and make the stretch run with 4 games remaining in December to try to make the postseason. And some of those teams still have a chance, like Miami. Now, I know they haven't beaten great teams in their 6-game winning streak, but they have our 5-game winning streak, but they've won. At the end of the day, Tua looks better. Defensively, they're playing, all out, 0 coverage, the third of the time. I mean, it's pretty awesome what they're doing. So if they can find a way to win some games they're supposed to lose, they might make the playoffs.
Yeah, this is that year, obviously, with that extra game, 17th regular season football game, where there are a lot of quirks in the schedule. I mean, there always is, especially because the NFL, in their infinite wisdom, wants division games to be the last game of the year. So there's some interesting dynamics going on in some schedules, but this one even more so because of that extra week. So I don't know if I'd want a bye week this late, to be honest with you. It's great to get rest at certain points in the year, but especially if you're a momentum team, you're a team that's on that 5-game winning streak. It's hard to lay it down, especially when you have to have crucial wins at the end of the season. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting for bettors. This is to me, it's something you have to consider. And I have a game this week that it exemplifies this point. So.
Well, there is the big tease from Rondé. So let's get right to it, guys. Game number 1 on Betting with the Barbers. We begin with a key AFC versus NFC matchup between two of the league's top teams, the 7-5 Buffalo Bills and the 9-3 Tampa Bay Bucks. Buffalo flat out needs a win to keep pace with New England now. They're 1.5 games behind the Pats. And the NFC South leading Bucks are just running away with that division. The 3 other teams are 5-7. Buffalo 6-5-1 against the spread. But I found this interesting, guys. 1-3 against the spread in their past 4, and only 2-5 in their past 7. Tampa Bay 6-6 against the spread. They have won and covered in 3 straight games. All right, we check out the odds from superbook.com. The Bucks opened up as a -3.5 point favorite. The line has come down to Tampa Bay -3. A lot of movement on the over-under. That opened up at 53.5 points, down to 52, guys. Let's break down this matchup, and we'll start with you, Tiki.
You know, this is an interesting one because I look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they start slow. Every game, it's like, dude, what are they? They're just playing around. They're toying with you a little bit. Defensively, they're not overly like dominant either. It's like, what are they doing? And they go and they win by 20. It's like, dude, what's up with this Bucks team? But honestly, I look at what Buffalo is facing right now, and it is a slide. It is a roller coaster, really, more than a slide. They won in Kansas City back in week 5, then they lost to Tennessee, then they won in Minnesota, then they lost to Jacksonville, then they won against the Jets, and they lost to Indy, and they won against New Orleans, and they lost to the New England Patriots. It's like they're literally up and down. Now, I'm not saying they're going to correct that and get a win this week against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I do think they keep it close, especially in a warm weather facility because they're down in Tampa this week. They can spread out and get wide open and find ways to make plays against this Buccaneers defense and keep this one close. I'm inclined to take Buffalo, not necessarily to win, but maybe to win, getting 3 points against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have been less than dominant. They're good, and they're obviously one of the best records in the NFC. Not the best, that's Arizona, but I feel like they're vulnerable. They can be had if you play a smart game, and I think Buffalo is primed for one of those. So give me Buffalo plus 3 points down in the used to be sombrero.
Right. Nice.
Tiki,
okay.
Tiki, you are out of your ever-living mind.
I love this.
Here we go. When was the last time the Bucks lost a game? Can you remember?
6 weeks ago. And by the way, the Buffalo Bills still have a top-ranked defense. They're still top 5 in every category.
I'm about to address that. Okay, so the Bucks I think they're 4-0 against the spread at home. Check me on that, Rig, here in their last 4 games. And for me, it's impossible to dislike Tampa. I mean, I've watched every single one of their plays. They can beat you with so many weapons. Their talent is way deep. And plus, that defense that everybody wants to keep saying is vulnerable, much like y'all are saying Kansas City's defense is vulnerable still. They're not. They are good. Tampa's got their cornerbacks healthy. Carlton Davis is back. Sean Murphy-Bunting is back. And look, to me, Buffalo might not be as good as advertised, dude. New England's really good. But Buffalo, you mentioned that roller coaster, 3-4 in their last 7 games, dude. We're getting to crunch time, and they're 3-4. Their defense is talented, dude, but collectively is where they're good. Individually, not so much, man. Tre'Davious White, their best corner, IR. They don't produce sacks, and they're going up this week against a quarterback in Tom Brady, who is the least sacked quarterback in the league, of a guy that started 10 or 11 games, whatever it is. Yes, they need to win a game, right? But on paper, this is a great matchup, right? Great D versus great O. Number 1 pass offense versus number 1 pass defense. Number 1 in points versus second in points per game on defense. But the reality is, teams that beat Buffalo run the ball, like run the crap out of the ball.
They saw that on Monday.
Right, 196 yards outgained in their last two games. Tampa, they don't run the ball because, they just choose not to. They have the best quarterback in the history of the game. They have TB12, right? But against Indy, they ran for 142 yards and won. Against Chicago, they ran for 182 yards, and it was the end of a 4-game streak where they rushed for 100 yards. They can do it. They just don't do it because Tom Brady is just that good. Gronk, right now, since he's been back from his rib injury, untouchable. The guy, all he does is score tutties. You should his tutties thing. Your mind says you want this to be a game because of Buffalo's defense, but look, there's only one thing that gives you pause, and that's the game record of Josh Allen because of his ability to get out of pocket, create and extend. Very inconsistent. 3-point cover. I think this is a blowout at home for Tampa, to be honest with you. Buffalo's on the wrong side of history right now because Tampa's hitting their stride, and the best team is definitely the home team this week.
In a shocker, Rondé goes with his Tampa Bay Bucks. 4-0 against the spread as double-digit favorites. 5-0 against the spread at home. So you make a great case. This stat stuck out to me, guys. Tom Brady just owns the Bills. There's no doubt about it. 35 games against them. He's gone 32-3. That's the most wins any quarterback has against any other team in NFL history. So you've got Brady, who owns that team. But for me, this is the crossroads game for the Bills. That loss puts them against New England, puts them at the number 7 seed right now. They're a half game ahead of Pittsburgh and really from being out of the playoffs. So I see this going one of two ways. I could see the Bills being blown out after, imploding against the Patriots, or I think they could bounce back with so much on the line. The Bills, I think it's that second-ranked NFL defense in scoring. I think they'll give Brady some challenges. I'm not sure. I'm with you, TK. I'm not sure if they win, but I think they're going to cover. So I'm going to go with the Bills myself. I learned nothing from Monday night, apparently.
Don't get twisted because they've given up over 200 yards the last 2 losses, 240 on average the last 2. Because against the New England Patriots, they averaged 3.5 yards per carry. The Pats did, if you take away the 64-yard touchdown. Yeah, they ran for 220. They ran the ball 46 times and had one bust out. They ran 45 for 3.5 yards per carry and 1 for 64. That's all I'm saying.
How many breakout carries did you have in your
I had
100-yard days? A lot. Can't take those away. You know what Monty Kiffin used to always say? Well, guys, we played great except for that 90-yard touchdown run.
Yeah, but here's the difference, bro.
Oh, man.
When I broke one, I went with 2 Bills. That's all I'm saying.
That had to be enjoyable, Tiki, as a running back, seeing a team just pound it and pound it and pound it.
Yeah.
They probably didn't even need to throw those 3 passes.
I absolutely love that. Bill Belichick, I know that Sean McDermott doesn't want to give him credit, but you got to give him credit.
You got to give him credit, man. He's the best.
All right, so Rondé goes with the Bucks. Tiki and I will take the Bills plus the 3 points. Sign up now at superbook.com. Download the app and make sure you're following us on social media at Superbook Sports and at Betting with the Barbers. We got it. Go out on Twitter and start to follow us. We'll send out clips of our picks throughout the week. All right, guys, let's move on to game number 2. We've seen some massive Monday night football games recently. That trend continues this week in week 14 with a key NFC West matchup between the number 1 seed in the NFC and division leading Arizona Cardinals, who are 10-0 or 10-2, and the 8-4 LA Rams, who are 2 games behind the Cards in the NFC West. The Rams got back on track last week by destroying the Jacksonville Jaguars. Of course, Jacksonville is the cure for everybody getting better, pretty much.
That's right.
And Arizona, listen, they can essentially seal the division title with a win over LA. A few stats as we go in. The Rams are 5-7 against the spread, covering only 41% 75% of the time. On the flip side, the Cardinals 9-3, covering 75% of the time against the spread. They're tied with Dallas for number 2, just behind Green Bay, who is 10-2 against the spread. Odds coming in from superbook.com. The opening odds had Arizona at -2.5. Guys, I saw it go up to -3, but current odds as of this morning, back down to Arizona -2.5. Over under opened at 52.5. It's down to 51.5. Let's break it down. Rondé, you are up.
2.5. They're begging you for that field goal. I love when lines go to 2.5. They just want you to get in here. Like the Rams, they got their W, right? But this is a must-win game. Let's make no mistake about it. If they're going to catch Arizona or have any chance to catch Arizona, this is the game, because if they win, they're only a game back from the Cardinals. Arizona's last loss, which was Carolina 3 weeks ago, was a shocker, but it was with Colt McCoy, who, by the way, is not an MVP candidate. Kyler Murray is. Since then, to me, gritty type of wins versus Seattle and Chicago. Like last week, Kyler Murray was back. He wasn't great, but he was good enough. DeAndre Hopkins was back. He wasn't great, but he was good enough. Their defense turned the ball over 4 times off Chicago. And I expect them to get a little bit better test this week against the Rams, but it's not like Rams D is playing great either, right? I like Arizona in this game for one reason. Secretly, because nobody talks about it, secretly they have a really good defense. They're 5th in yards, 4th against the pass in points allowed. And they don't get mentioned because Kyler Murray gets every highlight, right? But they can get after you with Chandler Jones and Marcus Golden, who I'm sure people listening to this don't. Who the heck is Marcus Golden? Played for Arizona, played for the Giants, now has 10 sacks back in Arizona. I mean, the guy can play. What you don't like is the corner matchup with the receivers of the Rams. But Byron Murphy is having a great year, and Budda Baker's a heck of a player, man. They take the ball away. That's why you like this team. And conversely, Arizona doesn't give it away. So LA, despite Matthew Stafford's 3,600 yards, 30 touchdown, Cooper Kupp's quasi MVP type of season, I still expect this Arizona defense to step up. If they're going to be true Super Bowl contenders, Arizona, I'm saying, this is the game where they can prove it. I think they're 10-2 for a reason. And so for a field goal, I'm taking Arizona all day long here.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rondé. I wish I could be, the contrarian here, but I can't. Arizona has a pedigree, and there was so many questions about Cliff Kingsbury as the head coach and what he would be able to do in his 3rd season. He hadn't really had, huge successes. There were some things that were positive. Obviously, Kyler Murray winning the Rookie of the Year, but there was nothing you could point to that said this is the identity of this team. Well, the identity, as much as we want to talk about Kyler and the explosive offensive weapons, Christian Kirk, you mentioned DeAndre Hopkins, who, by the way, doesn't have a 100-yard receiving game at all this year. He does have 8 touchdowns, but no 100-yard receiving game.
Wow.
AJ Green is there, right? But the X factor is their defense, as you mentioned. 23 turnovers they have. They're plus 12 in the turnover margin. More importantly, 11 fumbles. And when I see 11 fumbles, that means that guys are hustling to the football. They're hustling, they're stripping, and they're gang tackling, and that's how you get fumbles. That's second. 11 fumbles is second in the National Football League. More importantly, offensively, James Conner. Remember that guy who was in Pittsburgh, had that great story, who was just kind of like, he can't stay healthy. He's not really good. Dude's got 12 touchdowns, man. We're this is going into week 13 or 14, actually. He's got 12 touchdowns and 2 in the air. So he's got 14 total touchdowns for James Conner, right? So, yes, they haven't put a full game together yet, but if they do, damn, they're going to be rough. And I like the aesthetics of the LA Rams. I love what McVay, how he creates offense and the skill position players, but they're just not firing on all cylinders. I like Arizona to keep rolling here. If they can win the way that they won without Kyler Murray, wait till he gets right. So yeah, give me Arizona getting 2.5 points in this game. Or laying 2.5 points in this game, I should say.
Laying 2, yeah. That's a great point. They really did not lose any ground without Kyler Murray, and he came back and picked up right where he left off against Chicago. The Rams, they're holding the number 5 seed right now. but if they have any shot at wanting to catch them and maybe capture the division, they need this win. I think a big key, they just can't turn the ball over. I look at this matchup, and I think we're in store for another, fantastic finish, end of game type of ending. But the key for me is in watching the Rams, and I mean, how tough is Matthew Stafford? That guy has been getting blown up the last couple of weeks, and it fuels him, which is great. But it's also week 14. It's got to be taking a toll as well. I look at this. I think the Cards take the season sweep. They're going to get the win in the desert, cover the 2.5. And they're also, another factor I like is, you mentioned James Conner, who's been killing it. Now they get Chase Edmonds back. It looks like he's going to play this weekend. That's a pretty formidable double running back situation for them. I'm going with the Cards. Superbook.com, just some latest odds. Arizona is now 7-1 favorites to win the Super Bowl. LA is down to 12-1. So check out superbook.com for all the latest odds and line movement. It is now time for our Barber Brothers game of the week. Before you lock in those picks, get to superbook.com and make sure you are downloading the Superbook app. All right, game of the week. Tiki, it's all yours.
Yes, I love the two divisions in the AFC that don't have a losing team right now. Is currently the AFC North and also the AFC West. And the team that's sitting at the bottom of that division is the LA Raiders, or Las Vegas Raiders, I should say. And they have a huge game this weekend against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, we all remember in week 10, a few weeks ago, they got blown out, doors blown off by the Chiefs. It was 41-14. And I so want to say that the Raiders are going to be able to rebound and find a way to get right because they're so desperate. But it's not going to happen because, as Rondé was saying before, and this is a big line, by the way, it's 9.5 at this point. Kansas City's laying 9.5 in this game. Their defense has been playing fantastic in Kansas City. No one talks about it, but Chris Jones has been balling. Melvin Ingram has been balling on the defensive side of the ball. In fact, the reason that they beat the Dallas Cowboys a couple of weeks ago was because Chris Jones just eviscerated the left guard of the Cowboys and had 3.5 sacks from the tackle position. And so they found themselves defensively despite the horrendous start. I think more importantly, their defense has improved. They've had 11 takeaways in the last 4 games, and Kansas City just knows right now that this is their time to accelerate and claim this division and put their stamp on this division. I like Kansas City a lot. I think Patrick Mahomes is starting to figure out how to play with 8 dropping as opposed to this man coverage that he used to get in his first couple of years. He's getting smarter with the football. And more importantly, recent history informed me. He had 5 touchdowns against the Raiders 4 weeks ago. I think that trend continues, and they win this one pretty big. So give me the Kansas City Chiefs laying 9.5.
All right.
I love that.
Kansas City -9 for Tiki, and that game was in Vegas too. Kansas City losses to Baltimore and Tennessee are why they're at number 4 in the conference standings right now. So this is a big game for them for sure. All right, Rondé, what do you have for your game of the week?
Well, first of all, to bounce off Tiki, when Sorensen's scoring touchdowns,
that's right.
This is playing great.
Yeah, exactly.
Good point. Thanks for bringing that up as a Bronco guy.
So, guys, we ask every week, who is truly the best team in the AFC?
Right.
Because it's a convoluted.
It's a patch.
It's a mess, right? It's New England right now, if you ask me, just because of the things that we continue to talk about week in and week out. To me, the Baltimore Ravens are not a complete enough team to be there. We're enamored with the quarterback, as we rightfully should be. He's got 2,800 passes and passing yards and 750 rushing yards, which is unique at the position. And their defense is supposed to be good. They're not that good, by the way. But I think people are falling out of love with this team. Even at 8-4 and the second best team in the AFC by record, they are dogs.
Yeah.
On the road to Cleveland, man. That's why I chose this game. And I know Tiki is on standby to do this game, so no commenting here. But the Browns are 6-6, right? Inexplicable on offense with like a middling passing game, maybe, and a completely unloved Baker Mayfield. They can run the football. They can run the football. We know they can do that, but they have reciprocating wins since mid-October.
Wow.
Win, loss, win, loss.
Yeah.
Reciprocating.
Good word. Good word. Word of the day, by the way.
Tiki does that all the time. Here's the quirk, and I threw it out there to you guys earlier. They're coming off a bye. This is the biggest quirk I think I've ever seen in scheduling. Their last opponent before that bye, Baltimore Ravens.
Well, how weird is that?
That is weird. Yeah.
What the back-to-back games essentially versus the same team. So here's my thought. The Browns have 2 weeks to prepare for a team they just played. Right? Plus Baltimore coming off a loss to Pittsburgh and not looking very convincing in their 2 wins against Chicago and Cleveland. So bettors are saying maybe Cleveland has a chance here, right?
Yeah, it's basically 3 weeks, Rondé, to prepare because you prepared for a week, lost, and now you have 2 more weeks to prepare for this. It's weird.
In the last game, right? We know Cleveland only wants to run the football. They held them to 40 yards, right? Yeah. So you ask yourself, here's the question, and this is what I think why this line is wrong. Can Cleveland take advantage of the second worst pass defense in football with no corners? Baker Mayfield, his completion percentage, and this is for you, Rig, is plummeting like my handicap. I'm playing pretty good, guys.
Oh. You better be.
Where's my drink? I need a drink. Like we got a drink when he talks golf.
No, they have no David Njoku because he's out with on COVID protocol. They don't have a good number one second receiver. Jarvis Landry is it. There's not a wide receiver on this football team, not one, with more than 20 catches other than Jarvis Landry. Both tight ends have 20 plus, and Kareem Hunt has 20 plus. That's pathetic. So if the Cleveland Browns are going to win this game, they got to throw the football against the bad Ravens pass defense. I just don't see it happen. Baltimore right now, if you're the Ravens, you are seething right now because you failed to convert a 2-point conversion that would have essentially eliminated the Pittsburgh Steelers out of the conversation.
100%.
This is a comeback game, and they're going to win on the road. The line is what you said, 2.5.
2.5. Yeah.
I don't see Cleveland being able to cover this line at home. So take Baltimore.
Oh man, that was a little turn. I thought you were going all Cleveland, and then suddenly goes back. I love it. And if you took the bet that Rondé would get a golf reference in this week, cha-ching, cash that ticket. All right, guys, it is time. Let's fire up the DeLorean. Let's pull out Biff Tannen's Gray's Sports Almanac, and we are going back to the futures as we check out 3 future bets that you can make at superbook.com or on the Superbook Sports app. All right, we begin, fellas, with the Tennessee Titans. Had a bye. They're coming back this week. Tennessee is currently 12-1 to win the AFC Championship. Let's start with Tiki. Are you buying that bet or are you passing?
No, I'm passing on that bet. I know the odds are pretty interesting, but they're just not playing consistently enough on offense. And Ryan Tannehill, without the running game of Derrick Henry behind him, just is making too many mistakes. If they ever get into a position where they have to come from behind, the mistakes start piling up on top of each other. It's actually not dissimilar to Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco. He's really good when they're running the football. When Elijah Mitchell, who's under the radar, having an unbelievable season, if he's not running the football or Deebo Samuel's not accenting that offense in San Francisco, Jimmy Garoppolo is prone to turnovers. Ryan Tannehill is that times 2. Okay. So I'm not taking that one. I know that the odds are great. No way I'm touching that.
I'm not touching that one either, Ron. Look, the Tennessee defense is not statistically good, and when you watch them on tape, they're not very exciting either. Do they have some players? Yeah, every team has some players, but they're not a good enough unit to be the best in the AFC. right? Because we already know he can't beat Bill Belichick, even though because we already established that Bill Belichick's the best coach in football. He'll find a way to take advantage of an offense that's 16th in total yards and only throws for 210 yards a game. Tennessee, there's no way I would take that bet. And I've been skeptical on them the entire year without Derrick Henry, and I will continue to be so until he comes back, which is probably after they're eliminated.
Yeah, Rondé, by the way, you said at the beginning, don't bet against Bill Belichick and Nick Saban. It's exactly why Kirby Smart, with the -- 1 defense and the #6 offense, got blown out against Alabama in the SEC championship game, which I didn't see coming. By the way, we were completely wrong on that. I will never bet against Nick Saban again.
Hey, you know who else we were wrong on was that damn Utah
Oregon.
Well, but you know why? You know why now? You know why? Because Mario Cristobal was half out the door, bro. He had already negotiated his new deal with the Miami.
That is such a good point.
He was out the door, bro. Trust me.
We need that information before we lay down.
Where was that last week?
Lay down our opinion.
Dude, they lost the game. The next day, he was announced as the head coach as the Hurricanes.
Yeah.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe we should all stick to NFL games.
Yeah, because there's too much money in college football where these coaches who have these massive buyouts get pieced out. Ed Ogeron's making $17 million. They're going to pay Brian Kelly $26 million. They're paying to one coach that's there and one that's not the next season. Like, what in the hell are we talking about? Right? It's institutions of higher education. We're talking about the highest paid employee in the state by far.
Yeah.
So,
and the assistant coaches aren't getting that money. And it took away some shine from the games too. There was too much going on with the coaches. Come on. It's about the kids, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. They need to make a moratorium, to be honest with you.
I'm with you 100%.
A year.
All right.
I know there's recruiting and shit, but whatever.
Yeah. We'll save that for another show, man. We could do 2 hours on that for sure. Let's continue with Back to the Futures, our second future bet. We're looking at the LA Chargers, guys, plus 210 to win the AFC West. Rondé, you like those odds?
210. What's their record right now? 6-7-5. Yeah, you know what? 210.
1 game behind the Chiefs right now.
I might take that because the Chiefs, despite their defense playing well and Mahomes learning how to find they're vulnerable. Like you feel any moment that the Chiefs could lose a game, right? Yeah. The last couple of weeks, there's been that sense that any particular play have gone the other way, they lose a football game. Now the Chargers, they're a little too enigmatic, really, for me to say I love them. They're also in the last 5 weeks on reciprocating wins losses. You don't know what you're going to get. But the one thing you do know is that they can throw the football and they can make every game competitive. And I know Allen, right? He's out now, right? They put him on IR this week.
Yep.
So that may impact this bet, but I like them as much as I like the Chiefs, to be honest with you, in this division. So I would throw a flyer out there on this one.
This one is hard. If I was going to spend $100 to win 250 or 2 to win 5, I think I'd spend my 200 elsewhere to win 5. I don't love it, mainly because of what Rondé just said. The reciprocating wins, they're up and they're down. And Staley is a rookie head coach, as we all know. And so you're getting in crunch time, and there's some experience in game planning and situational football that he just hasn't had in real time. Not knocking them. I think they're a good team. They just as well could win this division, especially if Kansas City keeps playing, uncertain football. But I think Kansas City's getting better, and I think their schedule lays out in their advantage. So I wouldn't waste my $100 to win 250 on this. So I wouldn't take it.
Well, and with that big win over the Bengals, the Chargers are currently number 5 in the AFC playoff seeding, and only, as I said, that 1 game behind Kansas City, and they get Kansas City at home next week. So keep an eye on that. The Chiefs, according to Superbook.com right now, are minus 240 to win the AFC West. My Broncos 40-1, and the Raiders 100-1. So, again, if you're saying there's a chance, mathematically they're not eliminated.
100-1. Jeez.
Yeah.
That might
All
be
right.
worth
Well, now
$100.
that we've pretty much said that we know nothing about college football betting, our producer Mike Rigg will throw in a college future bet. Thank you, Mike.
Here we go.
Here we go. We are looking at the Michigan Wolverines. Guys, they are 8-1 favorites to win the national championship. Your thoughts, TJ?
All day. I do that all day. 8-1 is a big number. All day. And you know why? Because this feels like Jim Harbaugh's year. He's got a great run game. Hassan Haskins and Blake Corum are just unbelievable backs, especially with that offensive line blocking the way that they do. There's the line pushes, like you watch them, they push like a yard and a half at the snap of the football, which makes it so much easier for a running back to find lanes. And as a result, they can control time of possession. I mean, they just utterly, destroyed Iowa, especially in the second half. They ran through Ohio State, who at one point we were saying was, on par with Georgia as the best team in college football. That was an ass kicking a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, and now that Michigan is going to play Georgia, right? 2 is going to play 3. I think Georgia, we got to revisit their schedule. And look, who did they actually beat? The SEC East is not very good. We're talking Vanderbilts and Kentucky's and Florida's. There's not very good. And then they got to the SEC championship against the SEC West, which obviously was Alabama, and got beat up. Stetson Bennett is not ready for the occasion. I love the kid. His story is unbelievable. He looks more mature this year. But I did an Alabama game last year. I saw the same thing happen. Played good for a half, got destroyed, interceptions in the second half. I think that Michigan's defense is tight. Jim Harbaugh spent this entire offseason remaking his staff. It got significantly younger and energetic, and they were late to those guys. 100%. Give me Michigan 8-1. Those odds I would take any day.
I agree. 8-1. You kidding me? Michigan's defense, they probably have the best defensive lineman in football. What's 97's name? I forget his name right now.
Aiden Hutchinson.
Hutchinson,
He's going to be 1 or 2 in the draft. And David Ojabo.
And up for the Heisman.
Who's another one. The other defensive end is amazing as well. All right. Yeah. They are just good on their front 7.
Michigan showed me something this year that I haven't seen from them in years, and it's their ability to win games on defense. Now, Ohio State was good. It was a good offensive football team, and it was over the top all day long, right? Bam, bam, bam. They limited those opportunities and then ran away with the football game. Essentially, I think
literally ran away.
When they beat Georgia this week. When they beat Georgia and they go play Cincinnati in the title game, y'all didn't hear that, right?
They're not playing Cincinnati.
It doesn't matter.
I just wrote it down.
When they beat Georgia, I think they kill Alabama in the title game. I think they are a physical enough team that they get after the quarterback, and we've shown Bryce Young is a good football player, right? Good young football player. Yeah. When he gets under duress, he loses his mind, dude. And that's what Georgia wasn't able to do to him in that title game last week. Michigan will be able to do that. So 8-1, absolutely, I'm taking that.
Yeah. By the way, that's not until the end of December, Rhonda.
You know what I meant, though.
Yeah.
We're with you. Yeah, I love that bet. For sure. I mean, Alabama loses to Texas A&M. And then should have lost to Auburn, too, in that 4 overtime game.
Yeah, but that's only because they have a young quarterback who's going to win the Heisman, Bryce Young. He's the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. He didn't play well on the road. That environment down in Texas A&M was just electric. Same thing happened in Florida. It was an electric environment in Florida. Same thing happened in Auburn. He just was overwhelmed in those moments. He played okay statistically, but if you watch the game, he was just off. Neutral site or at home, Bryce Young is the man.
Look how many
times he's the man.
Look how many times Bryce Young had chances in all those games to extend drives and failed on third down. He won't let the ball out of his hands if it gets sticky.
It's not going to make mistakes.
That's where I think that's where Michigan take advantage of when they play, if they play.
So Superbook odds right now, Michigan at 8-1 has the third best odds. Bama best odds at plus 110. Georgia plus 140.
Wow. Really? They're still on the you gotta no way I'm taking Georgia. No way.
Hey, and we can't leave Cincinnati out. 18-1 is what I had.
I'll put my money on that one actually.
Hey, I'm off the Bengals bandwagon. I'm getting off the Bearcats. I love it. I'd love to see him win. I'd love
that would be fun.
I'm just happy that the College Football Playoff Committee had the to put them in.
Yeah.
I was waiting for them to get screwed, and they didn't do it.
Here's the question: what if Oklahoma State would have won?
Oh yeah, chaos.
It would have been.
I was kind of rooting for Notre Dame just because with Kelly leaving, how great would that be? That Marcus suddenly Freeman, they went on a run, and we don't need you, coach. We're doing just fine.
Well, they both stayed. I mean, both his coordinators, Marcus Freeman, who's now the head coach, and Tommy Reeves is the OC. They both decided to stay.
Who's coming with me?
Who's
nobody? Not me.
Not me.
See ya. All right, guys, that's going to do it for our Back to the Future segment. All season long, Superbook has given fans a chance to watch the big game with the Barber brothers in Las Vegas on Super Bowl weekend. And all you have to do is just send us a question via Twitter for the guys. If yours picked, you're in. Just that easy. Send it to @bettingwiththebarbers, @Superbook Sports, @Rondé Barber, @Tiki Barber, and @RCruck. And you are in. All right, guys, this week's question comes in from Jeff Stredler, @JStredler. Good question. Here it is. Who was the best college football player you ever went up against during your time at UVA?
I'm going to have to say Peter Boulware, who was a defensive end for the Florida State Seminoles. And it was earlier in my career. We beat them in our third season, which was most people call junior. We call first, second, third year. Our third year, we beat Florida State. He wasn't there. His first couple of years, dude was a monster. And he used to talk trash by saying things like, Jesus loves you. I'm like, what? What?
You can't really go after him. Something like that.
I'm going to say Peter Boulware. He was awesome.
Oh, God. This was tough for me. We played some good teams. We played Michigan. We played Texas. We played all those ACC schedules. The best play. I mean, for me, this was actually pretty easy because we played them twice a year, every year, or played them every year that we were there. It was war done. He was unbelievable in college, and he was unbelievable as a freshman. He was even more unbelievable as a sophomore. He was ridiculous as a junior. And he was he was almost player of the year, Heisman kind of quality as a senior. He made me look stupid so many times trying to tackle him in the open field. So for me, it was him. I played against some pretty good receivers across those my 3 years playing because I was redshirted my first year, but I started 3 years. But he was the one. He was the one you just couldn't get prepared for because no matter what you did, he was going to make you miss in space, and it proved to be a 10,000-yard back in the league too. So, I mean, he was awesome.
He was a stud, no doubt about it. Great question. We appreciate that coming in, Jeff. And you can get your questions in at any time during the week. Send them to @bettingwiththebarbers on Twitter. All right, guys, we're going to wrap things up. But before kickoff on Thursday night with the Vikings and Steelers, any final thoughts before we roll into week number 14?
Yeah, New York fans, it'll turn for the Giants and the Jets eventually. Just wait. Eventually.
There's a chance.
There is a chance.
There's my take is there's some very interesting games this week. And it's not all like great versus great games, but like Pittsburgh having to go on the road and win in Cincinnati. Even if you're like Tiki already talked about Las Vegas and Kansas City, but like Atlanta and Carolina, for a betting perspective, they're both 5-7. It's a division game. Come on, man. That's interesting, right?
New offensive coordinator in
Yeah,
Carolina.
exactly.
They fired Joe Brady. I mean, wow, that's a big deal.
Chicago having to go to Green Bay, like, I don't know. It's a division game. There's some interesting games this weekend. New Orleans Jets. I'm just kidding.
Another shout out to New York.
Yeah. Welcome to my life come January 3rd.
How
about Dallas and Washington? Washington
that one
has
too.
a chance to get right
that was
back
at the
in.
top of my list. That's right. Dallas, Washington. Come on, man. Washington's on a roll a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Finding ways to win games. And Dallas is
offensive line compromise, put it that way.
There you go.
And of course, all eyes will be on my Broncos taking on the Lions, the surging Lions on fire.
Dude, you better not lose that game. You better not lose that game.
One of the three of us will watch that game.
You are right. I will be there. Yes. Oh gosh. Wow. What happened to my life? All right, guys. Hey, great job as always. And we appreciate all our listeners and fans. Make sure you get in the game at superbook.com and download the Superbook app for the latest odds. Follow Superbook on social media at Superbook Sports and at Betting with the Barbers. The show airs on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and at superbook.com. New episodes drop every Thursday at 6 Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. And look for our picks and clips throughout the weekend on social media. Hey, and quickly, if you are in Colorado, I'll be hosting a UFC 269 watch party from the Superbook Sports Book up at the Lodge Casino. Guys, why don't you come out for it?
Hey, I wish I could. I might have to be in Cleveland though.
I can't wait for somebody to send me a question on in an MMA fight, which barber gets it done. We'll save that for.
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah, and you're heavier than me. I think you got the advantage.
Come up to Black Hawk, the Lodge Casino, and the Superbook Sports Book for a great time. UFC 269, great card stacked from top to bottom. Come say hello. And that's going to do it for Tiki and Rondé. I'm Ron Kruk. We will see you next week. Enjoy the games, everyone.